In the corner of a cozy little bakery nestled on Maple Street, there lived a tiny mouse named Max. He was no ordinary mouse. While most mice were happy nibbling on breadcrumbs or sneaking a bit of cheddar from the kitchen shelf, Max was a dreamer. He would lie on his back on a warm loaf of bread, paws behind his head, and stare out the small round window of the pantry. Night after night, he gazed at the moon, glowing high in the sky, round and golden. It looked so delicious that Max's whiskers would twitch just thinking about it. "It must be made of cheese," he whispered to himself one evening, licking his lips. "The biggest, creamiest, most magical cheese in the universe." The idea stuck in Max's mind like melted mozzarella. From that night on, he wasn't just Max the mouse. He was Max the moon cheese explorer. Max shared his theory with the other mice in the bakery. "Everyone thinks the moon is a glowing rock," he told them, "but I know it's cheese. Just look at the holes. It's clearly Swiss." The older mice laughed and shook their heads. "Silly Max, that's just light and shadow. You've been sniffing too much Parmesan." Even his best friend, Minnie, gave him a look of concern. "It's okay to dream, Max," she said kindly, "but you can't really go to the moon." But Max wasn't discouraged. "Just because no one's done it doesn't mean it's impossible," he said with a sparkle in his eyes. So Max made a plan. He gathered things from the bakery after dark, a long spool of string from the packaging drawer, a silver spoon for steering, and one big red helium balloon that he found floating after a birthday party at the cafe next door. He tied the string around his waist, tucked the spoon under his arm like a captain's sword, and strapped the balloon to his back. Then he scampered up to the rooftop, the highest point he could find. With a brave little breath, Max whispered, "To the moon and the cheese." Then, holding on tight to the string, he jumped. At first, Max tumbled through the air with a squeak, but the balloon caught the wind, and soon he was soaring, floating higher and higher above the buildings, above the trees, above the blinking lights of Maple Street. It was quiet up there, peaceful, magical. The stars twinkled all around him, and the moon glowed brighter than ever. "I'm coming for you, moon cheese," Max said with a grin. As he drifted closer, the moon seemed almost close enough to touch. His paws tingled, his heart raced. He could smell the cheese already, or was that just wishful thinking? Finally, he reached out with his tiny paw and, chomp, he bit into the moon. And then he stopped. Max blinked. His teeth had hit something hard, not soft, not creamy, not cheesy at all. It was rock, dusty, cold, completely unchewable. "Oh," Max said softly, "so the moon's not cheese?" He felt a little foolish, but as Max floated there, silent and still, something happened. He looked down. Below him, the earth sparkled like a treasure chest. He could see the glowing rooftops of Maple Street. He saw the bakery, the pond, the twinkling lights. The stars above seemed to hum a gentle lullaby. "I didn't find cheese," Max thought, "but I did fly through the clouds. I did reach the moon, and I did see the world in a way no mouse ever has." His disappointment slowly turned into pride. He hadn't gotten what he wanted. He'd gotten something better. Gently, Max tugged on the string and guided himself back toward Earth, floating softly like a leaf in the wind. When he landed back on the bakery roof, the other mice were waiting. They stared at him wide-eyed, their tiny jaws hanging open. "Max, you actually did it! You went to the moon!" "Was it cheese?" someone shouted. Max chuckled. Number it was just rock. A wave of disappointment passed over the group, but Max raised a paw. "But listen," he said, "the moon may not be made of cheese, but chasing it made me braver, stronger, and smarter. I saw the world from the stars, and And I discovered something more important than cheese. The other mice leaned in. I learned that dreams don't have to be real to be worth chasing. Because in chasing them, we become something more. From that day on, Max wasn't laughed at, he was admired. Young mice asked for stories of the stars. Old mice nodded with respect. And Max? He still watched the moon each night, not to bite it, but to remember the feeling of flying. The story told us, sometimes our dreams don't turn out the way we expect, but chasing them leads us to incredible places we never imagined.